Lamu Old Town prides itself in retaining its traditions and heritage as the oldest and best preserved Swahili settlement in East Africa. In 2001, the town was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a major tourist attraction, but now the town risks losing that status thanks to modernization. Daniel Mule focused on the efforts to preserve Lamu's culture and heritage and filed this report.
A visit to the Lamu Museum and you get a sense of the rich heritage of this coastal town dating back as early as the 14th century.
You will not get any other living settlement that is as authentic as Lamu. Most of its original features can still be traced to date. There's so many ceremonies or just day-to-day activities that are still undertaken same way as they were done 100 years ago.
The collection of artifacts here, a clear indication of how the Swahili people have historically maintained their culture, dressing and a rich poetry tradition symbolic of their lifestyle. Religion, architecture, and the unique cuisine of samosa, mandazi, mahamri, mkate mayai, and bajia offering a taste of Lamu.
So at one point, once buildings were getting older, people would either demolish a building or own a ruin, rebuild a new building. But actually most of the town is actually standing from the 17th century.
The most common doors in Lamu are the Omanis, which is very rich in terms of elements, patterns of flowers which are applied on these doors. For instance, like the rose flowers, which are representing happiness or tranquility. The ivory sewer was actually made in around 1860. And it has been used right along when the part of town was under the Sultan, and the Bahani Sultan of Baghdad. It was blown during special occasions, like for instance, like a ceremonial occasion like weddings and other state occasions in Lamu.
This is the kind of attire the Swahili community used to dress their bridegroom in, and the bridegroom was only allowed to meet the bride after the wedding day, and it is on that day that they would have prepared a meal for their visitors, and after the visitors leave, they would have their own privacy. The preserved narrow streets and magnificent stone buildings with impressive carved doors carry a rich history, representative of the development of Swahili building technology based on coral, lime, and mangrove poles. The narrow alleys provided shade from the scorching sun and allowed no other means of transport apart from movement by foot or donkeys. In an attempt to preserve the town's heritage for many years, automobiles were banned in line with the conservation plan.
The National Museums of Kenya is mandated by law to preserve this particular cultural heritage, and it has deployed quite a bit of resources to ensure that this particular heritage is well preserved.
When we are talking about heritage, we are talking about living physical heritage and living heritage. Production of the piki-piki, boda-bodas, which has not been there. People used to walk along the narrow streets of Lamu. The streets were meant for the pedestrians only. So if you introduce something which was not there, it is trying to distort the heritage of Lamu.
Hakuna kuharibu utamaduni tupeni kazi hii. Lakini tukisema watoto ondoshe mapikipiki, tupeni kazi, tutahifadhi mazingira. Lakini sasa tukiendelea kuwa namna hii, tukiwaambia waondoke, wewe mwenyewe fikiria wafanye kazi gani hawa?
Kama hawa viongozi wetu waangalie baina Honda na hawa wa NASCO ambao ni watu wanaosaidia Lamu, ndio waangalie nani abaki na hao NASCO ama wabaki mabodaboda.
Those who are thinking that it is very important for us to preserve and safeguard our heritage, and then we look forward to work with them to make sure that the heritage is safeguarded.
For that reason, the Lamu Old Town has been placed under the World Monument Fund watch and risks delisting as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for violating UNESCO's requirements that gave the town its current status.